Explosions here every 24 hours, and about 20 to 40 dead every day. And that's the best version of every day. Also, Kyiv wasn't occupied like all of Ukraine's other big cities, and the people here were. And the difference between those two things is the difference between 9 months of systematic torture, rape, and the execution of civilian population, and 27 death and torture chambers. Also, man, that's a dope-ass place. They got like Chanel and shit. That's what rich people. Yeah, the Russians took every single thing of any value from this place and these people. But you're not going to read about it anywhere. You know why? Well, there's 3 million people in Kyiv. It's far away from the war. Lots of journalists. Lots of humanitarian organizations. Good ones, doing good things. And Ukraine's other big cities. Yeah, we don't have journalists. Foreigners aren't allowed here. And there's no foreign humanitarian organizations here, obviously. We had to make one up. But you know why? Yeah. Fuck. And if you don't know some shit, you're going to get killed and get other people killed as well. So, and that's just the nature of the beast. About 1% of Ukrainians know what Russian occupation is. Most of them are right here. It's one big city. That's a different thing now. The way that Auschwitz was a different wartime experience than not. About 1 or 2% of Ukrainians know the war. As they say, that doesn't translate perfectly in English, but that's the expression that's commonly used. And what they mean is that they don't know what a tank round is, a mortar round is, an artillery round is, an FPV drone, or a glide bomb, and that's the war. Outside of artillery range, the only way you can be directly impacted is a long-range weapon, which, in those places it's normal life. And then, occasionally there's an explosion. It's going to be a big deal in a headline. That's Chuck E. Cheese on Saturday with free pizza and extra guests if you know the war. It is going to be looked at. And by definition, very few people know that. And by definition, those are, it is very unfortunate. These people, that's why what you do is so important. The people of Ukraine, 99% of Ukrainians, far away in the world from the world, they don't know what it's like to live under Russian occupation. They weren't raped. They weren't tortured. They weren't slaughtered. They didn't lose their homes. They didn't have their loved ones. They didn't live under under fire for 3.5 years, the range of every combat weapon. And everybody that was occupied and has been under fire, experiencing all those things every single day, will get up in the morning and read all about the places that never had to do that, where there was an explosion and people are all whacked out. And they feel exactly the way that you would feel if, it's like the man asked me many years ago, and I kind of said, when I had been here long, I was whatever, adopted, I was part of the family. I get all these questions because you're international. Man, can I ask you a question? Yeah. Why is it only a headline when the rich people far away from the war die? I'll never forget that. Explosions here every 24 hours, and about 20 to 40 dead every day. And that's the best version of every day. Also, Kyiv wasn't occupied like all of Ukraine's other big cities, and the people here were. And the difference between those two things is the difference between 9 months of systematic torture, rape, and the execution of civilian population, and 27 death and torture chambers. Also, man, that's a dope-ass place. They got like Chanel and shit. That's what rich people. Yeah, the Russians took every single thing of any value from this place and these people. But you're not going to read about it anywhere. You know why? Well, there's 3 million people in Kyiv. It's far away from the war. Lots of journalists. Lots of humanitarian organizations. Good ones, doing good things. And Ukraine's other big cities. Yeah, we don't have journalists. Foreigners aren't allowed here. And there's no foreign humanitarian organizations here, obviously. We had to make one up. But you know why? Yeah. Fuck. And if you don't know some shit, you're going to get killed and get other people killed as well. So, and that's just the nature of the beast. About 1% of Ukrainians know what Russian occupation is. Most of them are right here. It's one big city. That's a different thing now. The way that Auschwitz was a different wartime experience than not. About 1 or 2% of Ukrainians know the war. As they say, that doesn't translate perfectly in English, but that's the expression that's commonly used. And what they mean is that they don't know what a tank round is, a mortar round is, an artillery round is, an FPV drone, or a glide bomb, and that's the war. Outside of artillery range, the only way you can be directly impacted is a long-range weapon, which, in those places it's normal life. And, occasionally there's an explosion. It's going to be a big deal in a headline. That's Chuck E. Cheese on Saturday with free pizza and extra guests, if you know the war. It is going to be looked like that. And by definition, very few people know that. And by definition, those are, it is very unfortunate. These people, that's why what you do is so important. The people of Ukraine, 99% of Ukrainians, far away in the world, from the world, they don't know what it's like to live under Russian occupation. They weren't raped. They weren't tortured. They weren't slaughtered. They didn't lose their homes. They didn't have their loved ones. They didn't live under, under fire for 3.5 years, the range of every combat weapon. And everybody that was occupied and has been under fire, experiencing all those things every single day, will get up in the morning and read all about the places that never had to do that, where there was an explosion and people are all whacked out. And they feel exactly the way that you would feel if, it's like the man asked me many years ago, and I kind of said, when I'd been here long enough, I was like, whatever, adopted, I was part of the family. I get all these questions because you're international. Ben, can I ask you a question? Yeah. Why is it only a headline when the rich people far away from the war die? I'll never forget that. Ben, why is it only a headline when the rich people far away from the war die? I will never, ever, ever, ever forget that. That was 3 years ago. I didn't have an answer for him, but there's a lot of truth packed into that. I sure hope my friends and neighbors get some headlines some days. All I know is that they paid more in blood and sweat and rape. Everybody eats from the banquet of freedom, buddy. And everybody's more than willing to stay far away and, enjoy life. But freedom ain't free, and let's be clear. Everybody eats from the banquet of freedom and independence. Every Ukrainian does. Very few. Very few pay the price. Men and women in the armed services and the frontline populations. Lizzie, there are a lot of people that have been located from War Kyiv, people from China as well. Hey, Lizzie, there's people who need help everywhere, and it's good to help them. But there's help that need everywhere. But I mean, on a relative basis, in the major population centers, they're going to have the best of all. They have the most resources. There's millions of people. It's normal life. There's people there. People definitely, need help. But those are the people that are going to, have the most resources and the least difficult problems. And people need help. But there's a difference between kind of a toothache and stage 4 cancer, right? They're both in pain. But to treat things that are very, very different, the same is to very, belittle and demean. And if you had stage 4 cancer, and somebody was sitting next to you with a toothache, and you were treated the same, I think you'd probably, and those two things are different, very, very different. And there's a difference between people that were raped, that had their family members tortured or murdered, and that endured, 27 death and torture chambers, and the next level kind of, and, one's humanitarian need is a function of your human condition, but that's a different level of, humanitarian need than people would have needs further away. And I'm all in favor of, I'm in favor of everybody getting helped. I just don't think we should forget about those that need it absurdly the most. And I just think we shouldn't forget about those that sacrificed the most in terms of rape and blood and sweat and bodies and sons and daughters. I think they should get help too. Not just the rich. Or those that have more. I'm not anti-helping anybody, but I would like to be an advocate for those that don't live in the big fancy cities, that don't have all that stuff far away from the war, that don't have the resources, where it's not fun to go. I think that my friends and neighbors who gave 9 months of their lives who sacrificed their bodies, their dignity, their blood, their health, and so many of them their lives, and their fathers and their daughters, and that have lived in range of every combat weapon in the enemy's arsenal for 36 months, and who have endured for the first time in human history being chased around by human hunting drones, and that have lived, those that are alive still, have suffered in ways incomprehensible in history. I just think that we should see them too. Well, 90% have left after the occupation, but then they haven't experienced the 3.5 years since, which includes being in range of every combat weapon in the enemy's arsenal, right? So that's kind of a big thing, right? So the people in Kyiv, their homes aren't blown up because, they're not in range of tanks, mortars, artillery. Kyiv, Ukraine, compared to there's a big difference between the amount of suffering if you're living 7 hours away from a war in the capital city and if you're living directly on the front under fire every single day for 3.5 years. They both suffered, but it would be so very offensive, and it is, and so very demeaning, and it is, and so very insulting, and it is, and so very harmful, and it is, and so very, very offensive to compare a stage 4 cancer patient in acute next level pain with somebody that has a toothache. They're both in pain, but, right? No, I understand what you say. We're talking about two things that are factually different, and I don't dispute that there are people in Kyiv that need help. And it's good that they get help, and it's good that they have lots of resources to help them. That's good. I recognize that. But they haven't been raped. Well, I guess what you're saying is there are people here that went to Kyiv after the occupation. Yeah, that's good. 90% of the people have. And by definition, if you can get out of here, you have resources. Right? But Lizzie, what about the people? What about the 50,000 people who have lived every single moment of every single day, of every single hour, seconds away from death? What about the people that have lived in range of, what about people like Christina's family who had their home blown up by a tank? What about the people that have been hunted by small drones? Nobody in Kyiv experienced those things. What about Christina's family? 50% of whom have suffered those things after the occupation. While the people in Kyiv have never heard any one of those things. It's a different level of injury. These things are not the same. It is the difference between living 7 hours away from the war and not being in range of anything is very, very different. My compassion for women that have been raped in Kherson and now live in Kherson is zero. I don't think that any reasonable interpretation, I don't think that's fair at all, Lizzie. I think that's a gross misrepresentation, very unfair, factually inaccurate, and irresponsible, and deeply offensive to me, to Christina, to the people we hear, and my very presence here. So, I'll let the people on here decide that, but that's offensive to me deeply. It offends the values of our organization. It's offensive to Christina and her family. It's offensive to our team here. It's offensive to everybody here. And our compassion for the women that have been raped in Kherson is evidenced by the fact that we're risking our ass here helping them in Kherson. And I think that goes without saying. But let's ask the people here, Lizzie, what they think of your comments. How about that? Fair? We're here to serve the people. So our words and actions are judged by their impact on the people. Do you want me to show that to Christina, Lizzie? Do you think that would be consistent with the idea of helping? I trust the people that have been watching to construe what I said for what it said, but I have no earthly idea how anything I have said could be possibly construed. More importantly, anything that I've done or I'm doing could be construed as having no compassion. I'm here helping the poor in a place, in the most dangerous place, where we're in range of every combat weapon in the enemy's arsenal. You're talking about the relative rich who are living outside of range of everything. So it is not obvious to me how I'm the one that lacks compassion there. Well, I think that understates it, Anna, a little bit. If the point is, well, all of these things happened during the occupation, and people that suffered during the occupation then went to Kyiv, that misses the point entirely. Because since the end of the occupation, the people here have lived every day in range of every combat weapon that exists, dying at the rate of 20 to 40 every single day, have had their homes blown up, have been daily hunted by FPV drones, and the people of Kyiv have not. And I can assure you that this place looks about as different from Kyiv, Ukraine, as Smurfette looks from Freddy Krueger. And all of the people in Kyiv do things that none of the people can do here. We'll be in Kyiv in 2 weeks to get the medical treatment there that nobody can get here, not even me, because it's blown up. We'll be walking down the street, enjoying the ability to do that, which we can't do here because we'll be murdered by human hunting drones. The people in Kyiv are shopping at places like Chanel. And when I walk into a store in Kyiv, literally, somebody gives me a perfume sample. We're lucky if we have the ability to, I mean, these are radically different places. There's a lot of really good people doing a lot of good work in Kyiv, and there's all kinds of help that's necessary over the place. And that's great stuff. And a lot of people send us stuff from other places. These are our friends and partners. But to suggest that in any way, shape, or form at all, that the humanitarian need of human beings who have never heard a tank round, mortar round, artillery round, FPV drone, or cob, who don't live on the front line, who haven't had their homes blown up, their fathers crippled for life, is the same thing as people that haven't, even for 1 second, is just factually silliness, right? Like, just factually, the human condition, the humanitarian need of people that have lived for 3.5 years under fire, their homes being blown up, their relatives being destroyed, getting killed at a clip of 20 to 40 every freaking day for 3.5 years, and who have been hunted by FPV drones for the first time in human history, whose homes are destroyed, whose cities are destroyed, who haven't been able to get health care, who are starving, that in any way, shape, or form, that is the same thing as people that haven't. What you're missing, Lizzie, is that after the occupation, for 3.5 years, these people have lived directly on the front lines. And so a lot of the yes, horrible stuff happened during the occupation. And yes, it's great that there's people that can get out elsewhere and get help for that's great. But every single day for 3.5 years since, these people have suffered in ways that not just the people here, but guys, which is not factual. You suggested that I have no compassion after I've dedicated 4 years of my life, hundreds of thousands of dollars, risked my ass like no other international in Ukraine does. I'm the only person in a place where foreigners aren't allowed to be for very good reason, have permanent brain injuries on account of Russian war crimes, and haven't been able to see my kids for 16 months. And you, who hasn't done any of that, suggested that I don't have compassion. Does that seem very nice? Lizzie, I think all of the people in Kherson, every single one, whether they're here or elsewhere, whose families were here helping, I don't think I need to explain to them my level of compassion uniquely for the people of Kherson, both those that are here and those that have been able to leave. And one of the things that we don't do on this program is judge others. So how about this? I won't judge you, and you don't judge me. And we are what we do. So your level of compassion has been demonstrated by what you've done and what you've said. And my level of compassion has been demonstrated by what I've done and what I've said. And I am perfectly willing to stand on my record. And people can judge my level of compassion based on that. Do you know who I think probably is the best judge of my compassion for the Khersonian people? The Khersonian people. And judging from the fact that they gave me the privilege of being a lawful resident of this country and of this city so that I can be here while you're there, risking my ass to help them. The feedback that I've gotten from the relevant constituency is the feedback that I want to get. Cool? I will say, it takes a tremendous amount of something to be on the internet, to never having been where I've been, never having seen what I've seen, to never having met a Khersonsky one time, and to tell a resident of Kherson, because that's the privilege that they gave me so I can be here, who's been here the whole time, helping Khersonsky, risking his ass every single day. I don't need a medal, but who's given quite obviously 4 years of my life, my health, and pretty much all of my money to the people of Kherson. You have to have a lot of fucking guts to be somebody on the internet who's never done any of that to say what you said. And Lizzie, I love you. And don't take this the wrong way. I don't give a rat's ass what you think. I work for the people of Kherson. What they think is my comment card. And if they think that I'm helpful, if they think that I'm compassionate, if they think that I'm of service, no offense, but I don't give a rat's ass what somebody who's on the internet who has never for 1 second walked in their shoes or mine has the temerity and the nuts to, from on high, from a position of exalted privilege, have the temerity to judge people in the situation. With all due respect, I don't care. And if my daughters were sitting right next to me, my son for that example, I would say, son, guys, come here, look at this. I like to, examples are helpful, good and bad. And I would say, look at Christina and look at these people. That's the definition of character and everything that you should be. And look at this person right here. And with everything in you, in your whole life, never be that, ever. Anyway, it's my job to put the mission first. And I'm committed to doing that job. And Lizzie, in 4 years of being in Ukraine, I've never been personally more offended, more insulted, more disrespected, more pissed off, more disappointed. You got to have some balls to say that, sweetheart, to me. And I don't have to like you, and I don't. And I don't have to respect you, and I don't. What's important, Lizzie, is that these people get served. And in a different time, in a different place, you having seen fit to never having been there, never having done it, spoken to me, your judgment from a position of exalted privilege, I would not feel, I would give you my 2 cents. You having given ours from a position of privilege, from afar, on the internet, never having walked in their shoes. Oh, how the privileged do look down and judge the least of our brothers and sisters. I am so happy, Lizzie. I am not you, and never will be. I would give you my 2 cents, Lizzie, you seeing fit to a position of privilege, being given, not having earned, all the things that these people don't have, from afar, not knowing. No, Tony, No one would begrudge me for laying into that privileged, spoiled candy ass that just insulted the whole fucking population of Kherson. Yeah, Lizzie, good luck finding another organization to support your son. No, you're not doing it for me, Lizzie. You're doing it for them. And if you stop supporting the people of Kherson, you would show exactly the level of care and concern that you just demonstrated by your words. Look, man, there's an ugly underbelly to international humanitarianism, and I am defamed, libeled, slandered, and I don't know, by people I've never fucking met. And like, whatever, I get that. But that's the worst, most immoral, horrible, disrespectful, holy. If you have a God, I would pray to him. That's the worst. So I am committed, Lizzie, to putting these people first. And my fidelity to that commitment compels that I refrain from giving you my 2 cents. You saw fit to judge me from afar, never having done it, having given nothing. I don't believe in judging. But if you gave me your 2 cents about me, I would be inclined to give you my 2 cents about you. But that would be selfish of me, Lizzie. I wouldn't be serving the people, Lizzie. And the great thing about people like you, Lizzie, is when I see somebody with that little character, that act with that little respect, that take that little responsibility, that are that privileged and act better than, that dangle their support for people like a carrot, pulling it back and forth. When I see people behave as disrespectfully, amorally, reprehensibly, the truth is, it simply inspires my commitment to make sure that I do my best every day to never, ever, 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 ever be like you. You are motivation, and I appreciate that. For me not to be worse, not a judger like you, not a talker like you, not being disrespectful like you, but you have motivated Lizzie with everything in my body. I am motivated to do everything I can to be non-judgmental, unlike you, to be boots on the ground, unlike you, to not give unsolicited advice from a position of privilege, unlike you, and to not dangle my love like a carrot to be earned and taken away at the worst whimsy, unlike you. And so I appreciate that motivation. Dear God, whatever I am, I'm not that. And thank you for that. Holy shit. That's the worst shit I've seen ever. All right. Well, so those aren't our values, Lizzie. And whether you choose to support the people is up to you. By all means, support the people of Kherson through another foreign humanitarian organization that doesn't exist here, Lizzie. I don't have any names, Lizzie. They don't exist. And anyway, don't make your disrespect and immorality my problem. How about this? Here's a name. How about Christina? You care so much about the people of Kherson, so-called hypocrite. How about you support Christina? How about we go tell Christina and show her what you just said, to insult all of her people, to insult everything we've done here, to make a mockery of the sweat, the blood, all of that. How about you support her? Because you care so much, Lizzie, about the people of Kherson. Here's my suggestion. How about a person of Kherson? Because you care so much, Lizzie. How about you support Christina? I didn't say I didn't want you here. If you're willing to support the people of Kherson, that's the important thing. And I specifically just said that I'm willing to overlook the most offensive, disrespectful, amoral, characterless, absolutely worst comment that I've ever absorbed in 4 years of my service here in Ukraine for the people of Kherson. That's what I've said. I'm saying it again. So if you want to help these people, Lizzie, I'm happy to take all the risk while you don't. I'm happy to pay all of the bills while you don't. I'm happy with the team here to do all of the work that you don't do. And I'm happy, Lizzie, to give you all of the credit that you need. Okay? You send your love, I'll hand it out. Cool? Lizzie, one thing, I was a lawyer for 20 years, and the record is the record. So you said what you said. I'm not going to debate what you said. The important thing is to help the people. Can I ask this, Lizzie? Don't ever say anything like that again in a public forum, in a place where all of the people of Kherson read. There's a lot of people, if your point was to help the people of Kherson, Lizzie, those comments did the exact opposite. And, the channel's viewed. So I'm not going to bring this up with Christina. I'll paper over, as I always do, internationally irresponsible comments and make it be okay. But please don't do that. We're not here to judge. We're here to help. We're not here to debate. We're here to help. This isn't hard. Our mission is to help the people here. So it really doesn't matter engaging in debates of, who needs help more and all that stuff. If you think that other people need help more than the one big city in Ukraine that was occupied, and the one big city in the terrain that's closest to the Russians, and you want to help those people, then help those people. That's your choice. But that's the archetype of, those aren't our values, okay? And we have standards of conduct, and they are designed not just to reflect the values of humanity, but to protect the people from harm. And, comments like that do tremendous harm. And I'm glad that we had this, when Christina was not sitting next to me, because I think we all know what Christina would tell you. And if you really want to find out, we can go show her. And she's the people of Kherson, Lizzie. Lizzie, who do you think knows more about my compassion for the women of Kherson? The woman in Kherson I've been attached to every single day, live with, work with every single day, or somebody that's never been here one time and has never met the people of Kherson? Who do you think's a better judge of that, Lizzie? You know what, Lizzie? On second thought, Lizzie, sometimes we make mistakes. I make mistakes all the time. I've always been taught that's not really the test of character. It's how you handle it. And honorable men and women and people of character take responsibility for their mistakes. I don't think anybody intends to hurt people. I certainly don't. But that doesn't change the fact that the impact, and they own their mistakes, and they act like honorable people. And if you do that, you have the opportunity to learn from your mistakes. The people that I've always sought to learn from have always taught me that it's not whether you make mistakes. We all make mistakes. Hell, I make a lot of them. But how you handle your mistakes that defines who you are. And more disconcerting to me, frankly, than the things that you said and how disrespectful and offensive they were to me, is how you've handled it. You make excuses. You're explaining your intent. If you don't know that that is that's your problem. But that's a horrible thing, truly a next level horrible thing to have said. And I don't think anybody on this live stream or anybody in the world would disagree with that. So, it would be great if you just said, I'm sorry, we learned from it, and we moved on. But since you haven't learned your lesson, I'm inclined to, we'll see what Christina has to think about this. So let's see what the woman in Kherson, who has, I think we all would agree, in a much better position to judge my compassion for the women of Kherson than you are, has to say about a rich foreigner far away, judging from afar, who has never been to Kherson one time, has never, let's see what she has to say about the rich international who is, who uses her so-called charity as a weapon, and who threatens to withhold her love, quote unquote, for the people here because somebody takes offense. I was inclined to skip this step, but Lizzie, by all means, say what you said to Christina. You are privileged and rich, and you spoke. Can you grant them the same privilege that you've extended to yourself? You spoke. Can you extend them the privilege, or are you better than? Are you better than them? You just speak, but they're not worth being listened to? Yeah, I'm inclined to, Tony. Christina would want me to, and if we have, yeah, there was a version of that that ended different than this, but Lizzie, you seem to have a lot to say about the people of Kherson and about me, and you saw fit to offer your judgment. I think we would agree I listened. please give me the courtesy and respect of listening to the people about them. Please give them the same courtesy and respect that you demand of others. Or are you better than, Lizzie? You spoke, I listened. Are you better than them? You spoke about the compassion. No, but you spoke. Can you grant the same courtesy and respect to the people that you spoke to, that you asked of them? Hey, Chris.
Да.
У нас есть ситуация. I'm asking you if you'll grant the same courtesy and respect to the people that you judge from afar. Lizzie here at the OTR. Lizzie here at the OTR.
Какая ситуация?
Lizzie говорила, что у меня нет... это трудно объяснить. Она думала, что ситуация в Киеве, есть люди там тоже, которые нужно помочь. И что у меня нет, я плохой человек, у меня нет, это все равно для меня, для женщин Херсона, потому что я не согласен, что женщины в Киеве то же самое. And so Lizzie, who has rich and privileged and was born with all kinds of privileges, and, Lizzie, hey, rich person, better than. You spoke to them? You're not better than, Lizzie. You're just privileged and rich and a judger. Now, please grant the little people that you judge and that you mock and you demean the same courtesy that you're rich, privileged, judgmental. You spoke, Lizzie. Now let them speak. You're not better than. Why are you better than them? You spoke. Let them speak, Lizzie. Are you better than them, Lizzie? Are you better than them, Lizzie? Then listen, they get to speak. You spoke, Lizzie. Now they speak. Go ahead.
You know, for me it's very painful. Бенджамин, вы хотите что-то еще говорить?
Amen.
For me it's very... It's very...
Обо мне. Обо мне.
А тебе что еще раз? Что женщины в Киев...
Я плохой для женщин.
It's horrible. First of all,
Я здесь, я работал.
for me it's very painful to understand and to see people think something like this when show situation in Kherson all day, every day. And situation better in Kyiv, and in Kyiv people need help. And in Kyiv people have normal life, safe life. You can see this all day, every day in internet and all this. But about Kherson you can't see in internet. And it's so horrible and it's so painful. And you know,